Hey everyone. Welcome to our Paul Mitchell Flaunt Facebook Live. Just working through a beautiful installation to enhance a wonderful ombre type of color inspiration. So throughout our entire process today, you'll be seeing a wide variety of color selections being mixed and matched to truly customize this wonderful length, density, and pops of blondes and colors to create a seamless blend and transition of beautiful, longer dimensional hair. So I've already started and I'm working my way up row by row to create this beautiful soft blend and transition. As I'm working through right now up the head shape, each row is going to be installed about 1 inch to 3/4 of an inch in separation. Being that I'm working with a nice fine to medium density of hair, I want to ensure that I do have quite a bit of space through my rows of installation so that the extensions do not overpower the natural density of my guest. And Jose, let's grab a smoothing iron so I could prepare this section to make sure that that hair is ready to accept this weft of hair that's going to be a watertight seal. So with Paul Mitchell Flaunt extensions, we're working with this beautiful weft installation that consists of 100% Remy hair. So what's great about that for my guest is this is going to act just like her natural hair that she can go through and use her typical styling routine and daily care regimen. With Remy hair, what's great about that is this hair and now we're going to start going in with blondes. Okay. We're actually, yeah, let's go blondes and then we'll,
Blondes and blends.
blondes. So we're going to go blend. All right, we're back. So as I'm transitioning, you can start to see I'm in the placement of the highlights with Trang. So what we're going to do is I have a 23 color shade in my standard Weft extension. And I'm going to be partnering that with a blend, a 4-6-7 blend. Now, these are quite contrasting. So what I'm going to do, and also looking at the variation of blonde, this can be quite bold. To help reduce how much lightness, I'm just going to take my thinning shears and come just beneath the base of the adhesive, and we're going to remove some of that density so that it has a little bit of a softer deposit of that blonde. And what we're going to do here is that blonde is going to be installed on the underneath, and we're going to place our 4-6-7 blend on top. Now, when I say 4-6-7 blend, that's literally the colors we know of hair color formulation. A level 4 blended in with a level 6 and a level 7, almost creating that really nice baby soft highlight. So here we've removed the density from our 23 Flaunt standard extension. Just going to roll that down. And now on the top, I'll be coming through and placing the blend 4-6-7 on top to create a little bit more of that shadowing in this dimension. Now, each time before I really put some pressure on the adhesive, notice how I'm coming in very detailed to remove any of that hair that may have came into my area of placement. Once I do that, I'm pressing pretty firmly here, and during the press, I want to ensure that I do not feel any tackiness of the adhesive. That's going to ensure that that weft is matching up perfectly. And now what I love most is you can see that looks like just a soft, natural kind of baby light of lightness in there without it being too bold and exposed into a blonde end result. So I'm going to work my way through, working from the left over to the right. And I continue to use these small little clips to keep all of those fine flyaway hairs out of my distant. That could cause a lot of uncomfortability for my guest. If I even just have one tiny hair that's out of place, I want to make sure everything's lining up just perfect. So as I continue, what I'm going to do is keep creating a nice blend here. So what we're going to work through with is the ombre. We're going to come through with the ombre flaunt. And you can see here, this has a nice blend of a level 5, down into a beautiful blonde. So we're going to get that nice medium blend starting here at the scalp. My weft comes just at that parting line, and I drop it ever so slightly for that comfortability of my guest. Notice how I did a little rolling action here to keep the hair extremely sleek and tight at the scalp. There's no sag of the hair or drag right here. And again, just removing any of that outside access of the weft to ensure that we're not bringing things into place and matching corner to corner here. Now again, before I hit that tight seal, I want to inspect and make sure none of that hair's coming through on the outside. So on top, we have our standard weft, that's a blend, coming through the ombre weft that creates a little bit of that brighter blonde.
Heather, on the previous sandwich, why did you choose not to use thinning scissors on the top weft?
On the top weft, we're really trying to create more of like that whisper and balayage type of effect of the blonde. Under here too, I want more of the blonde to shadow through in the length, not be so predominant through the highlights on the scalp. When we look at Tring's color, she has a nice dominant of highlight through the top, but due to her finer hair, we lose the density of that blonde coming through. So I want to build blonde more in the mid to lengths and have less blonde on the root and at the scalp. This will also allow her to wear these over time. These extensions will last comfortably in her hair routine for about 8 to 10 weeks. After that 8 to 10 week mark, we can see that that regrowth is going to be quite off the scalp. So that's going to cause a little bit of some mishaps during her style. So we want to keep her rescheduled about every 8 to 10 weeks to come back in and have a reinstallation to move the extensions up. So here, let's continue to come through. We'll go back into our bright blonde underneath so we can start building. Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, Jose, giving me just that little trim there, the base. Thank you. And then we'll continue to come through with the blend coming right there on that top. As I move a little bit higher on the head where we transition back into a little bit more blonde, we can play with that. Let's see here. This is that's the dark ombre. Yep. Now we'll go here with our medium ombre. So again, coming through with that level 5 on the top area, and you can see how this ombre blends into this beautiful number 23 blonde. Our solid blonde here was a 23 as well. So that's going to create this nice, stronger effect you can see here on that ombre moving into this transition of blonde. Being that that's right in the middle, we're going to continue to build here on this opposite side the same color placement as the right. So in preparation for Tring's hair, what we did was we went through and started on a nice clarifying shampoo. Shampoo 2 from Paul Mitchell was our choice, just to remove any oils, any buildup of product so that her hair is squeaky clean. That way, if there's no resistance from the watertight seal, and we can make sure that that's adhering to her natural hair here. So when we look at the weft of the extension, you're going to notice here on our standard, this is your traditional hair extension. where you have that seal on the outside. So most of our installation will require a standard extension. And we want to be placing this in hidden areas, discrete areas where the guest and others will not be able to see the wefts. When we transition to a little bit more of a visible area, or maybe an area that has a cowlick, we're going to transition into our second weft option, which is called a Deluxe. And here's the simple difference of the two when we look at the extension offering. Here's our standard that shows that seal on the outer surface. This is going to have most of our installation, more of those hidden areas. And right here, you can notice how that hair almost grows out of the extension, almost like a lace front wig. And this is going to be for areas that may be exposed or seen. If your guest wears their hair up a lot, you can certainly place this down into the nape. In areas in the front hairline, this could be acceptable as well. And this just creates more of that customization for your guest when they're working through with their hair. So again, we're coming through with the 23. Notice here that we're going to give a little removal of weight. So coming in with your thinning shears, just one snip of the scissor below the tape tab so you don't disrupt the adhesion. And that's going to remove some density for us, because when I look at that natural canvas, we're not quite yet in that heavy blonde story. So I don't want to have too much blonde peeking through as of yet. And then we'll come back through and partner that with a blend to make sure that we have that nice natural exposure of color in Trang's balayage extension placement. So here, notice how the hair is coming here at an angle, right? I want to ensure that all of that hair is falling down nice and straight. So if I come back in, the beauty about the placement here is I can remove what I just installed ever so slightly to adjust my installation and ensure that I'm working in a proper clean section that's nice and snug to my guest's hair. So coming back through, placing it just on that section line, dropping ever so slightly. Now my pinky acts like an anchor where I'm just going to roll her natural hair onto that adhesive, clipping those loose hairs out of the way. And we'll go with the blend here. This one. And the blend we can see is just going to be a nice even keel to cover that bright blonde 23. Removing that outer hair surface to ensure comfortability for my guest and there's not one hair out of place. And now I'll come in for that nice tight seal to complete the installation.
Heather, are flaunt extensions damaging to the hair?
Are flaunt extensions damaging to the hair? No. What's great about the flaunt extensions is the fact that you're implementing the natural hair in between. This actually keeps her hair in a really great condition. I always will take the hair down and re-look at everything from a big picture point of view. And we can see we can start building some more blondes here on this side. So now that we have that temperature check, is what I like to call it, I'm going to come back in and create my next section above that previous horizontal row. So knowing that I am staying about 3/4 of an inch in between each row, as I take my next horseshoe section, I'm starting to get higher up the head shape. This is where I'm going to transition now into the front two panels. Once my horseshoe section is well enough density to move into the front, that'll give me permission to start building length and density there as well. And what we'll do here, we want to make sure that's a nice even balance so our placement is on point. And I'm going to continue to take this horizontal parting right into this front hairline. And let's make sure our iron's ready, Jose, because this hair's been clipped up for quite some time. Getting that all ready on both panels in the front here. Now, one thing when you start to transition the flaunt extensions into the front area is the guest lifestyle. So, Train, do you wear glasses at all? Reading glasses, sunglasses, anything like that?
Occasionally sunglasses.
Sunglasses, perfect. That's something to definitely ask with your guests, because some guests might tell you, no, I don't have reading glasses, but certainly almost every guest wears their sunglasses. So with that being said, what I want to ensure is that I have around 2 fingers width of natural hair, so that when my guest slides her glasses on, it's not going to be running into any of those extensions, and she can still work through her natural styling and daily style routines without any discomfort. So as that hair's been clipped up, we're just giving one even pass to make the natural hair nice and straight that we can place into the extensions.
So Heather, each row of flaunt extensions is 3/4 of an inch about apart.
3/4 to an inch. And what's going to decipher this is your guest's natural hair density. Train has a more of a medium to fine density, so it's not too thick. And I don't want to overpower her hair by putting too much artificial hair in. We want this to look natural still. So for Train specific installation, 3/4 to an inch. If you were working with somebody who had extremely thick hair, you may want to go into 1/2 inch, something a little bit closer, so you can build that nice density. So here we're going to go with a, let's do an ombre on the bottom with a blend Deluxe on top. Because now we're starting to trigger into this front hairline, what we're going to do is show you how we can customize a standard extension with a Deluxe. So I'm going to come in underneath with our standard ombre. So again, standard is where you have that traditional seal on the outer surface of your extension weft. I want to come in about 1/2 inch or so away from that hairline too. And starting at my section line, use my pinky as my anchor and roll that down. Remove any of those hairs not in that section of the extension. And we'll come in here with a Deluxe. So the Deluxe is where you can see that hair is growing out more like a lace front wig. And this is a great area to place the Deluxe extensions, because this is where in some cases your guest might move their hair behind their ear. They might be having a little bit more exposure to the hair at the root. And when you have a Deluxe like this, you don't have to worry about seeing any bit of that seal on the top, and your guest can feel a little bit more natural. So now that I have this on the right, what I'm going to do is ping pong my placement. I'll start one on the right, I'll do one on the left to create that balance, length, and color enhancement. Once I have this one in, I'll come back to this side and I'll keep building left to right and ping pong until I meet in the middle in the back. To keep me on that lighting here, we're going to go with that same color palette. So we're going in with the ombre. This is a 523. So this is a level 5 natural base blending into a bright blonde, which is 23 in this case. It has a little bit more of a neutral base to it. And then this is our 467 Flaunt Pro blend. So 467, it just has these little crystal highlights in there of a level 7 with some natural level 4 base and level 6 base. Give my little cross-check inspection, remove any of those outer surface hairs, and come through with a tight pinch to really start that watertight seal and adhere to the natural hair.
Heather, how many tabs come in a pack of flaunt extensions?
Great question. So in one pack of flaunt extensions, we have 12 tabs. This is the beautiful packaging when you order your flaunt extensions. I love how they just have the ponytails that expose the color of the shade you're looking for. And when you order your extensions here, they come in this beautiful little booklet so you can display with your guest and show your guest from root to end their different color palettes.
How many packs would you use on an average installation?
It's funny to classify what average is because it really does come down to the density. But when we're looking at averaging that out, anywhere from 4 to 6 packs is a recommendation. Now, again, really looking at what you're trying to customize in your guest installation becomes the decision factor. If you have a guest who's extremely thick, who's looking to build length, you may have to use around 6 to 7 packs to build the thickness of density, right? Let's go in right here in this depth Jose. We're going to go with the 3-7 ombre. This one's a little deeper. What I like about putting in some depth is it's going to brighten up where we installed that blonde. 3-7, darker at the base, a level 3, coming in at a level 7 through that blend. And now we'll go to the 4-6-7 blend on top. 4-6-7, yeah.
Heather, for reinstallation, we have some watchers that are a little inexperienced with tape extensions, and they're wondering how would you go about reinstalling or reusing these extensions?
Excellent. The best thing about flaunt extensions is that you can reuse this same hair I'm installing today up to 3 services. So about every 8 to 10 weeks is when I'd want to see my guests come in. And what I like to do is schedule one day to remove the extensions. In the best case scenario, I like to ask my guests to come in the very next day to install. This is where I feel we give their hair and scalp a nice little breather in between the installation. If that's not possible, that's certainly okay. You just want to book some extended time with your guests so that you can remove, retape, and reinstall. So again, the same color application is coming in. This is a 3-7 blend. And then we're coming in with a Deluxe 4-6-7 blend through the top. And when I go through and remove these, what I'll be working with is a few tools to keep me on track. The first tool I like to use is called the Reinstallation board. This is a board that exposes a diagram for you where you can remove starting from the very top of your guest hair. And when you take those top extensions out, those are going to come to the bottom of the board. As I move to my next row, that'll come to the second. As I work my way down, I'll fill up the board. So what's going to happen is the hair and the nape is going to live at the top. So when I retape that, I'm working on this board from the top down to work from the bottom up to keep me on track. And that way, the hair stays in place. What's important to know is that you're going to be cutting the hair and blending it, so you have to place the extensions in the same spot to make sure you have that nice even balance. All right, this is looking beautiful. I'm loving where we're at. In this area, we're just going to place 2 more to fill in a seamless transition from front to back, and we're going to bring some blonde into place here. So let's stick with the 523 ombre and the 23 straight. We're going to go 23 straight on the bottom. This is going to be our bold blonde. And in here, again, we're going to come through. We've removed a little bit of that density, so it's not overpowering when we add that into the 523 ombre. So here's our standard 23 blonde extension. I'm going to roll that down, remove those little hairs, come through with the 523 blend. Now back in here, because we're in our hidden areas of placement, this is where I'm working with a standard and a standard. I don't need to utilize a deluxe here because this is a hidden area. This will rarely ever be exposed unless you're going through in horizontal sectionings to see the hair. And now I'll transition here on the opposite side to continue to build that same placement, 23 underneath with a 523 on top. And Ash, I mean, if you want to maybe be my parrot on this side, this might help us see a little better here. So the section size I'm taking is a fine slice. And what I'm looking at is at the base of the hair, this should roughly be the same density of one weft of the extension. So when I feel the density of this weft to the density of my section, that should feel just about the same. I don't want to have less hair that I'm sandwiching in between. That could cause the extensions to slip out too soon, possibly even tear out because there's not enough integrity for the adhesive to hang on to. So really make sure that you're using a nice even density to the hair wefts when you're choosing your slice to put in between both of your extension wefts. Again, just removing any of those outer surface hairs. I really want to make sure when my guest is brushing their hair, they're not coming and snagging one little hair out of place that can cause that discomfort. So I'm happy with that. I'll come in, give a nice pinch, firm pinch to really start that seal. So we look at our installation this far, beautiful blonding coming through. I'm okay with having some depth here because we needed to build density in the front. When we come to our next row, we're going to see how we can expose a little more blonde in the front lengths of Train's hair. So now that we are working here, I'm going to take my extension brush. The Flaunt extension brush is a nice soft paddle brush so that as I'm brushing through my guest hair, we're not going to have any bit of snagging or pulling on those extensions. And Train, now with you being an extension user, brushing your hair so often is really going to be something you want to do. In fact, you may even want to carry an extension brush in your purse. With longer, thicker hair, you're just going to have more movement, which in some cases, depending on how much movement you're going, can have a little bit more detangling that needs to happen. So smoothing out that surface, I really want to start to see what areas we can come in through and work with. So I'm taking my next horizontal section here. Again, Train's hair specifically, we're choosing to go 3/4 to about an inch in between each row. And that's because Train is working with a little bit more of a fine to medium density of hair. I can have a little bit more space of my hair placement. With somebody who has thicker hair, you may want to go more 1/2 inch in between your installation. We got a little high on that horseshoe, so I'm going to even that out.
Heather, do we always install horizontally?
Yes. Horizontal is going to be the way to go when working with Flaunt extensions. One unique feature that I absolutely have loved with my experience in tape extensions, the Flaunt extensions are a 1.1 inch tab. So when I look at the width of the extensions, this is going to help me put it in just that perfect little area. Let's go through here with the 23 and the 523 blend. Again, we're going to clip out all those little fine baby hairs. And get this out of the way. Being very meticulous is going to keep you successful in your tape extensions. So here we're coming through. I'm going to take again that finer section, really looking at the density of the weft as my key, putting my pinky at the base of the scalp, coming through right at that horizontal section, lowering it. See this 1.1 inch tape tab? How just slim and sleek it is to put right here up into this front area is really nice for my guests in a few key factors. I can specifically put these in filler areas where we might need to make sure in a cowlick or in a certain unique area they fit. But what's also great is like right behind the ear, sometimes we can fit this. And what we know is every 1 inch square on the head, that contour shifts. So being that this is 1.1 inch, this is ideal for your customization in your extension placement. So again, continuing that ping pong action here, coming into the opposite side. And that same placement, we're coming through with that bright blonde underneath. Now that we've gotten that density built and we look at this palette, it's quite deep. I need to bring some brightness up through here. So that's going to trigger me to choose the 523. Now the 523, what we did was removed a little bit of density with our thinning shears. So I came through right here with the thinning shears, and we went through and gave one close of the scissor to remove the density. You can see right there where we did that. Now, why we're doing that here is, again, we're softly starting to put in that blonde. When we think of a balayage type of color placement, it's not too overpowered. It's very organic. It's nice and lived in. Already, that's a nice, beautiful, soft transition. However, to tie in her base, what we're looking to do is now blending it here on top with a 523 ombre. So when we look at the ombre offering here, we can see that level 5 at that base blending into this 23. But you get that little bright blonde shadowing underneath, which is looking fabulous, Trey. All right, so we got to build a little bit more blonde right through here. So let's do this one with a, let's go 523 ombre on both. We'll sandwich both 523 ombre.
When placing your extensions next to each other, how close?
How close? Again, this is really looking at what we're trying to achieve. So to build thickness and length, you want to have these much closer together. They can almost kiss in some scenarios. Trang's hair is a little bit sparse. We have a little bit of a finer fabric. It's not so thick. So I don't want to overpower her hair and make her feel like Chewbacca. So I'm keeping about 1/4 to 1/2 an inch in between my placement when I work horizontally. If you're just looking to build density on some guests, you can also adjust how much hair is in between. In this case, we're looking to build density and a little bit of that length. All right, as we continue working through on that opposite side, same color palette option, 523 ombre is what we're working through with, and we're sandwiching the standard 523 ombre on the bottom and on the top. Roll that on. Again, get all those fine little hairs out of the placement. Match your weft corner to corner, and we'll come through for that nice tight seal. So if you're interested in this beautiful quality of Paul Mitchell Flaunt extensions, flauntpro.com is where you can go to sign up and register to receive your Flaunt extensions. For those of you on with us, feel free to communicate and chat with us. In fact, the more you chat and communicate, you're going to be entered to win a prize. And our prize here today is you receiving Paul Mitchell Flaunt extensions. So go ahead and interact. Go ahead and ask me any questions you might have or features you may want to see through Paul Mitchell Flaunt. Now, Trang does part her hair off to one side all the time. So I want to make sure I can really start to see her natural parting and where the hair's falling to start customizing our placement. We can build a little bit more through the front. I'm loving what we're seeing. Trang, the back is looking just flawless. So rather than taking that full horseshoe, well, we are going to take the full horseshoe because I want to make sure it's blending nicely. But I may have to pop a few more in on her fuller side if necessary. Okay. So right through here, let's go back in now with the 4-7 blend and the 523 ombre.
Heather, how many shades?
We have 32 shades available. So when matching your guest color, this professional color ring is what you can use to really see all of the shade offerings for your guest. Now we have a natural series, which you can see goes from level 1 up into a level 9, right? In your natural series. Blend is what we're working with today. Our beautiful blonde series of colors here in all different shades. More of your beiges to your brighter, whiter blondes and your sandy blondes. And then we start transitioning into some of our fashion shades and colors, coppers, reds, reds, violets. Now here, let's transition to the board here. What I'd really love you to see is we have them offered in solid colors, scalp to end, same tone, or we have an ombre option. An ombre is where we have that beautiful soft color melt that starts with one shade and has a gradation into a nice lighter shade. And then when we have an option called rooted, and rooted is giving you more of that shadow root, that deep at the base transitioning into a bright blonde. And as I mentioned, the extensions come in two options. Two options are called standard. Standard is going to be the majority of the installation. And that is your traditional weft extension. That is going to be where that seal is on the outer surface. And in all of the hidden areas you want to install with your standard. This is our standard ombre coming through to match up with that blend. Nice tight seal. And I just love how that gave us some depth right up at the front. We can see we have that nice dimension coming through. Coming on that opposite side here and placing that same color palette into the front. And let's go through the small clip. With Paul Mitchell Flaunt extensions, we have a beautiful array of education offerings. So if you're interested in getting a little more knowledge in Paul Mitchell Flaunt, taking a certification, and starting to build your business with the ease of installation, check out flauntpro.com. Our education team there is going to be phenomenal to help ensure that you have everything to take your extension business to the next level. We also do a Wednesday live on the Flaunt Pro Instagram page. So if you want to check out any of our other educators or different Flaunt extension scenarios, you're more than welcome to jump onto Flaunt Pro Instagram on Wednesdays, and we do a live with our education crew. All right, this is looking beautiful. What do you guys think about this nice color transition and enhancement on the extensions? That's what I'm finding. I do primarily color services in the salon blonding, but what I've been liking for some of my blonde guests, that brunette and that blonde, is that we can enhance their blonde exposure with the installation of extensions. And from here, you know, this is just a nice, beautiful, beautiful transition that we're seeing here on our guest today. Let's see. Feeling like that's looking pretty good here. Let's see the extension brush and brush through it all. Now, Trey, when I brush through your hair, let me know if you feel any comfortability as I lift through and work through your hair, okay? Because now is the time where I would love to take anything out that might not suit you well and readjust that so that from week to week you have this beautiful, easy hair care routine and regimen. How is it feeling when I brush?
Feeling really comfortable.
Okay, very nice. Anything snagging or feel out of place?
No.
I'm liking that it's nice and full, but it still looks natural. It still looks like your hair, right?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. So I want to review a few maintenance tools with you, okay, Shane? And I'm going to keep going row by row to make sure, again, everything is nice and secure. So feel how my hands are coming through your hair in between each row. When you shampoo your hair, you're going to want to shampoo like this, okay? Now, it's extremely important to use a sulfate-free shampoo because this is a gentle cleanse and we do not want to disturb the adhesive, the watertight seal that's holding onto your hair, okay? So feel free to shampoo your scalp nice and clean. It's important to have a healthy scalp and rinse that with your conditioner. It's important to really only apply the conditioner mid through end. Conditioners have a lot of lipids and slip to it. You want to avoid any oil, ethanol, or alcohol ingredients directly on the tape pad, okay? So let's say you use a dry shampoo. You can certainly use that. Only put it on the areas you don't have the extension. So right on top, your parting area, right? You want to make sure that you wait 48 hours from today to wash your hair for the first time. You can just allow your hair to really take in the Weft and that adhesive. This is going to have a longer lasting time period for you. And now, I know you go to the gym and you work out and you're a hiker. So anytime you're going for your extracurricular activities, whether it be swimming, hiking, gym, you want to wear your hair in a loose, low braid or a low ponytail. If you want to just try to remember, this hair is thicker now. It's longer now. It could tangle a little more easily. So in your extracurricular activities, low ponytail, low braid would do it just fine. And in fact, I would highly advise that when you sleep as well, just so you don't wake up with a crazy bedhead and all these tangles, right? Now, this is one of the most important things. The extension hair is second hair, guys. It's artificial hair. So every single weft you see here in Trey's hair is not going to receive the nutrients her natural hair does because it's not getting it from the scalp. So a weekly conditioning treatment, Trey, on the mids to ends is going to keep the hair flawless, shiny, have more luster, and act like your natural hair, which is the goal, right? So feel free to curl, smooth, and style your hair as you typically would. In your heat tools, you want to use a lower heat setting. So I would recommend 300 or lower on your irons, just because, again, this is that second hair. We want to make sure we're keeping it very nice and healthy and in the cleanest natural state. So the two products I would recommend for you would be either the Neuro Prime, which is your thermal protection, or Avapui Wild Ginger from Paul Mitchell. Both of these retail lines is what my guests can take home. They have sulfate-free cleansers. They both have at-home treatments, and both have really great hydrating stylers to keep my guests' hair in the perfect state from time to time. When you receive your Paul Mitchell Flaunt kit, after you go to paulmitchellflauntpro.com, you're going to receive a few things in your options. This beautiful swatch board that you can work through with your guests. What I like is they're removable, so you can hold it up to the guest hair when you're looking to match. You also have the option to choose your professional color ring. I like the ring because it has the length. The guest can feel a little bit more of what their hair is going to feel like. And it's just super fun to see how you can create and customize all 32 shades for your guests specifically. When we're looking at the flaunt extensions, they come in 3 different lengths. We have a 12-inch length available, 12-inch, we have 16-inch, and then we have 20-inch. So everything installed in Trang's hair today is a 20-inch extension. I find that's nice to work with my longer hair guests. If I had maybe shoulder length, I would work with more 12 to 16 in my orders. When ordering, again, as I mentioned, this is going to be your lifesaver, the reinstallation board. If I had Trang in my chair and it's 8 weeks later, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the very top. I'm going to start at the top of her hair and look for this first row. This first row, what I would do is come through with my solvent remover, extension remover, spray that right at the base to trickle in, and it's a nice, easy peel. You peel those corner areas and peel it off gently. These extensions, what I would do here, you can hold this board for me, Jose. This top extension is going to go on the bottom row of the board. And as I work through my next row, it'll go on the second row. As I work now closer to the ear temporal area, I'll work higher on the board. As I work into the nape rows become up here. So my very first row I installed down here into the nape would be living at the top of the board. Here's a little bit more of our deeper ombres to build her length here that doesn't quite have much blonde. This row would essentially be living at the top. So when I come through with my tape tab to re-tape the hair extension, I can start in the nape and rebuild from the bottom up with my guest. When reordering tape tabs, which you can re-tape these extensions up to 3 times. So your guest's first investment on the extension hair can last them anywhere from 8 to 10 months. 3 tape tab sheets come into your reinstallation tape tab packet, and this will match up nicely with the 12 that come in one packet here. So I've already used one, but it's a seamless transition. The 12 match to reinstall. Here's a beautiful display of the 12, 16, and 20 inch to get more of a visual of how we can really customize and look for those appropriate lengths for each and every guest.
Heather, those blonde extensions, do they hold semi-permanent hair color?
Great question. So yes, when coloring palmitoll flaunt extensions, you can certainly deposit hair color. So if you're looking to tone any of your blonde shades, semi or demi-permanent would be the way to go to keep it in the most healthy, integral state. What you definitely want to avoid, and which will take away the warranty, is if you lighten the extension hair. So no bleach, no lighteners on the extension. Always purchase the lighter color palette and deposit the shade you're looking to customize. And in fact, on our deeper blend today, our 3-7 ombre, this is a little bit more, it had a little bit more of a chestnut in this area. So we toned it with the palmitoll demi, and we used we used 7A from palmitoll demi, and we just deposited on that lighter area to cool it down a bit and not have it so chestnutty, make it a little bit more neutral to blend in with Trang's beigeier blondes and her base there as well. So again, I'm Heather Cottenoy. You guys can DM me if you have any questions at H_Cottenoy. If you're looking to get certified, purchase flaunt extensions, visit flauntpro.com. Our education team there will definitely be support to get you all the materials you're looking for. And we can certainly come virtually to you to make sure you have everything you need to build your extension business. This is the easiest way, guys, to have one guest in your chair with a revenue that screams on your service ticket price, and they want more. So this guest is a loyal return client who you'll see every 8 to 10 weeks, depending on their hair growth, but you can reuse that hair up to 3 different services. So make sure that your guest does know how to maintain, because it's not about just what happens today. I won't see her for 8 weeks from now. So every day for 8 weeks, she's got to play her part to maintain the investment. Please reach out, DM me if you guys have any questions. Our education team is available at flauntpro.com. Thank you for tuning in today. Hope you guys have a beautiful holiday.